Number 10, can use 90% of his brain. When people think of Slade Wilson, some people just think of him as another Deadpool. While Deadpool may have soared in popularity due to his feature film starring Ryan Reynolds, it is actually Deadpool himself who is the Marvel ripoff version of Deathstroke. That's right, Deathstroke actually came out before Deadpool was even around. And comically so, Deadpool was actually very aware of this, as were his creators Rob Liefeld and Fabian Nicieza. As such, when people think of Deathstroke, they often think of a skilled mercenary with a healing factor. But something they forgot is while Deadpool is mentally tormented by his own self-awareness and his insanity, Deathstroke is actually a level-headed and serious tactician, making him even more dangerous than his Marvel counterpart. Kinda making sense as to why they made him like a little more crazy in the Marvel version, get it? It's making fun of him. This is also due to the fact that the super soldier serum that Deathstroke was exposed to increased his mental capacity, allowing him to access 90% of his brain capacity. That's not how that works, but very well, comics. This makes him smarter and an incredibly fast thinker, and I would even argue that this power is way more valuable than his healing factor, as it means he doesn't have to rely on it as much. And his healing factor isn't regeneration, so he can't just like make new limbs or anything. It's just a healing factor, okay? Number 9, Master Tactician. Beyond having an enhanced brain, even before he was exposed to the super soldier serum, Slade Wilson was known as a brilliant military officer. He could easily pick up skills and was a quick learner. And he's always followed his own strict moral code and shown himself to be very disciplined. Combine this with his enhanced brain and you get a Master Tactician. When it comes to plotting and planning, there's almost no one better than Deathstroke in the entire DC universe. And if you don't want to take my word for it, take Superman's. When Superman needed a tactical officer, his first thought was of Deathstroke. He didn't really even know him that well at the time. He actually asked Slade to join him in fighting a war in space. And let's not forget how Deathstroke once whooped Batman's butt, a hero who is known for his contingency plans and tactical prowess himself. Number 8, Energy Lance, or Energy Staff, depending on, what you want to call this thing. I like to think of it as a lance, but When you think of Deathstroke, you might first think of his iconic sword, and while he does fight with that often, there's another weapon that Slade is also apt to reach for, his Energy Lance. His Energy Lance can be adjusted when it comes to the amount of energy it blasts you with. It can also be adjusted in size as well. Slade has used it to both stun and kill enemies. Later he has it modified so that he is actually the only one who can use it, as its activation is tied to his costume's gloves, so no one can wield it against him. The lance itself has also been known to emit blasts strong enough to blow up a helicopter in a single hit. That's insane! It should be noted that while it was capable of that feat, however, it struggles to blow a hole in battleship steel. I guess battleship steel is stronger than helicopter steel? These are like the grades of steel. What are you making with that steel? That will be the strength of that thing.
Number 7, Telepathy. Sinister is also an accomplished telepath. In adaptations, for some reason, this isn't often the part of his powers that is highlighted. Watching the 90s animated series as a kid, I had no idea, but I was also like 8. So he can do your standard telepathic dealings for a radius of 250 meters, so he's not exactly the most powerful, but hey, if you get into that radius you are in trouble. And at times he can extend it, but that takes effort. He can read your mind, project thoughts, mask his presence, take over bodily control of a person, cause amnesia. He can also erect a psionic shield. Scary stuff. He tends to do this for furthering his ends. I keep wanting to say for sinister purposes, but no, that's what he wants.
Number 6, Improved Depth Perception. Deathstroke is known for his iconic mask, which if you weren't aware of, isn't just all show. Or well, it is kind of all show. Slade is very proud of the fact that he lost his eye and can still be an insanely skilled fighter and marksman without it. To show off this fact, his mask only has one eye hole. He actually lost his eye when his wife shot it out. She meant to kill him, but instead shot out his eye. After he let their son, Joseph's throat get slit. Watch out, you'll shoot your eye out with that. In fact, later when Deathstroke found himself de-aged and with his lost eye miraculously re-healed in return, he actually found it more challenging. He had been used to compensating for so long that his depth perception had actually become almost enhanced from not having a second eye. In the end, he gruesomely removed this second eye, but even while he had it, he often preferred to cover up his one eye to make it easier for him to fight. So you'll notice he still wears the same mask even though he had 2 eyes. But then he was like, nah, don't like it. That's how good his depth perception is without both eyes. He'd rather just go one eye all the time. Deathstroke the Cyclops, we should call him. Number 5, Adamantium Enhanced. Like his heroic counterpart, Sabretooth has also had his skeleton altered and enhanced with adamantium. Once Apocalypse did this to him, and another time, the re-established Weapon X was behind it. This of course makes Sabretooth even more durable than he was previously, and when Weapon X altered him, they actually also improved more than just his skeleton, making him stronger and also increasing his healing factor as well. However, Sabretooth is also susceptible to adamantium poisoning, and as a result, it also sometimes weakens his healing factor, as his healing factor then has to work to stave off the poison, making him somewhat weaker overall as a result. Number 4. Flight. While Deathstroke can't fly alone by himself, he has some super useful tech that makes this possible. One of the most principal of which is his Icon suit. The suit was invented by his friend Dr. Icon, also known as Dave Isherwood. When Dr. Icon first gave the prototype suit to Wilson, he actually kind of just tossed it in the back of his locker, kind of just like dismissing it. But when the final version came into his hands, he decided to start utilizing that. The suit is powered via the user's own kinetic energy that they give off while wearing and moving in it. It uses this kinetic energy to shield itself, able to protect itself from small projectiles through fist-size barriers. So if you like throw a punch or if you try to shoot him, not gonna work. Deathstroke even had the suit modded to include rocket boots, so he could also use it to fly around. Unfortunately, these rocket boots were so heavy that they slowed him down dramatically, so he really only used them for one issue in Deathstroke Volume 4, you can see that in issue 6. Still, a flying Deathstroke sounds pretty terrifying. And he also kind of got depowered because Jericho had the original suits and then he could like depower his dad, but anyways, go read issue 6. Why am I telling you about it? Just read it.
Number 3. Energy projection. As if all of these powers weren't enough, Mr. Sinister can also fire energy blasts from his hands, also known as concussive blasts. These blasts can be so strong that they can match Cyclops' optic blasts, which are known to be incredibly powerful. So Sinister can do some serious damage with these blasts, so if you're going up against Sinister, you're just gonna get attacked on all fronts. Telepathically, physically, probably emotionally, it's not gonna be a good time.
Number 2. Speed Force. During Rebirth, we saw Deathstroke gain the Speed Force using his Icon suit, which allowed him to tap into and access the Speed Force and basically become a speedster himself. He was looking to use the Speed Force to travel back in time and save his son Grant from dying, confronting both Wally Wests in his attempt to help him do so. Though eventually he just seized the Speed Force for himself, and he actually also used this change to make an even bigger change to his image. At least, that's what he claimed, saying that he wanted to rebrand himself as a superhero. He even had his own like little cool team, making like his own like Teen Titans. Look at him go. You go, Deathstroke. Number 1. Unreadable movements. Cassandra Cain is known for being the reader of nonverbal cues within the DC universe. This also makes her an expert fighter when it comes to reading what someone is going to do next. She can sense when you're about to pull a punch, to charge her, to dodge her or retreat, but when she came up against Deathstroke, even her attuned senses failed her. She described Deathstroke's movements as a choir of voices. It's like there were too many options for what he'd do to make him readable. Any and all options appear plausible, making it impossible to sense just exactly what he'd do next in a fight, and making it hard to fight him in hand-to-hand combat. It's like the poker face of fighting. It's like he's like, I can do it all. I could go anywhere. I could be anything. I'm a tomato. Tomato, tomato. Number 10. Superhuman senses. When people think of Sabretooth, they usually think of a worse off Wolverine, but what they might not realize is just how close Victor Creed is to Logan when it comes to the abilities that they share. In fact, I would argue that Sabretooth is even a maybe better version of Wolverine when it comes to his power levels. Like Logan, he can use his enhanced sense of smell to track, but he can also tell if someone is lying. His eyesight, however, seems to be even better than Logan's. He has frequently been shown to have night vision and can even see in infrared. He has an enhanced sense of taste as well, and his sense of hearing and smell are so good he was able to use them to sense a ninja from the hand sneaking up on him and an intruder in the X mansion that no one within was able to detect, including the mansion's advanced security systems. It's like you have a mansion full of mutants and a cool security system no one notices except for Sabretooth. That's how good his senses are. Or how shitty everything else is, I'm not sure which. Number 9. Fangs. You might also remember Sabretooth's claws, another similarity to Logan when it comes to his abilities, though his are somewhat different, more nails than bone spikes. But beyond those, Sabretooth has also prominent fangs. In fact, his fangs have always been prominent. Growing up, his father would actually pull out these pointed devil teeth in an attempt to fix his son. His healing factor of course always meant that they would grow back in, causing his father to torture him by prying them out of his mouth once again. Seriously, as much as Sabretooth is a villain, he still has a really tragic enough backstory that you almost almost feel inclined to empathize with him. His fangs are also known to be sharp and stronger than human bone, so not someone you would want to have give you a love bite probably. He like nips at you and accidentally tears out your throat. Oops. Number 8. Slowed aging. Having a healing factor grants Sabretooth more than one superpower. Not only can he heal himself from injuries and has resistance to poison and disease, but this also grants him slowed aging. It was even suggested at one point in the comics that he had been around since the time of the Roman gladiators. However, this fact was later retconned, and it was later confirmed that he has actually only been around as long as Logan really has. But still, that makes him over 100 years old. And he certainly doesn't look it. Wolverine has even suggested that Sabretooth's healing factor could be stronger. So it's possible that while old man Logan is trucking around, Sabretooth is just somewhere out in the world still looking not a day over 35. Or 40, depending on, what you see when you look at Sabretooth. Number 7. Enhanced senses. Similar to some other superheroes who are known for their healing factor, Deathstroke also has enhanced senses. Honestly, it seems like a lot of times these superpowers are like this weird package deal. You got a healing factor, here's some enhanced senses, they just come together. And there appears to be no exception with Deathstroke. Both his sense of hearing and his sense of smell seem to have been enhanced as a result of his exposure to the Super Soldier Serum, or the immunity to the Truth Serum, depending on where you're at in his continuity. Because originally that's what they told him. They're like, this will make you immune to truth serums. And he was like, I'll take that. That sounds useful. But it wasn't that. Haha. Spoilers. Number 6. Foot claws. So when it comes to claws, Sabretooth has got them on lock. In fact, he has more claws than he likely knows what to do with. While we see him using the claws on his hands quite often, something that gets less attention and comic book coverage are the claws on his feet. Like the claws on his hands, they can be assumed to be just as strong and durable. And when I say strong, I mean it. We have seen his hand claws cut through concrete before. His claws are shown to be an extension of his nails, and the same goes for his feet. So he is really long toenails, I guess, when he wants to, and although it seems awkward, he could also use them in a fight. Similar to his fangs, his claws are also obviously stronger than bone, so think twice before you try to break one of his nails.
Number 5. Immortal. Sinister is for all intents and purposes functionally immortal. This is because of his healing ability that has made him immune to aging and disease. This is because the cells that are recreated are always younger, perfect cells. Not younger, still young, equally young. So why can he heal so well? Well, aside from the abilities he gained from the mutant courier, he has also been exposed very early on to the celestial technology utilized by Apocalypse, the same ones that Apocalypse got as a gift so that he could change the course of human history. Apocalypse has taken a particular interest in Essex because their interests and philosophies very much align. However, this is functional immortality because Sinister can die. He can be killed. It's just going to take a lot of prolonged, focused, concentrated damage to get there.
Number 4. Strong survival instinct. One thing that has really made Victor stand out as both a character and a villain is his strong will to survive. His will to survive also makes him a bit of a loner as well, meaning that he is willing to betray just about anyone to ensure his survival. His teammates, his lovers, at the end of the day, Sabretooth is all about guaranteeing his own survival, going to any lengths to ensure this. This comes from years of suffering child abuse and experimentation, and has been drilled into him throughout many different training regimens and in training to become a skilled tactician. His ruthlessness when it comes to survival is also what likely allowed him to whoop Wolverine's butt so many times. Let's not forget that every time they tangled for the first 20 or so years, it was usually Sabretooth who came out on top. Victor even visits Logan yearly on his birthday just to kick his butt. True story. Wolverine's like, don't hang out with me because Sabretooth's gonna show up on my birthday, kick my butt, so he doesn't do a lot of parties. Although Wolverine probably wouldn't party a lot anyways. Likes to keep to himself too. Number 3. God Killer. Deathstroke was granted this weapon after he accepted a contract from Hephaestus to kill the Greek titan Lepettus. The God Killer is a near indestructible weapon that can repair itself once broken and can shapeshift into whatever form of weapon best suits its user. It also reaches out to enhance its user's creativity and mental capacity so that their fighting style and capability in wielding the weapon is improved. It can also absorb energy, redirecting any attack directed at it back to its assailant, but doubled in force. So it is not a weapon what you want to come up against. But it's alright, because it got taken away from Deathstroke. Wah wah. Then he had to pull out his eyeball, because that's how that goes. You know how it goes. Number 2. Expert Marksman. Despite being more well known for his feral and brute strength fighting style, Sabretooth also maintains proficiency with firearms as well. He likely received his excellent targeting and weapon wielding skills from training with various groups including the CIA, Hydra, and even Weapon X. Heck, he was even a member of Nick Fury's Avengers team for a while in the 1950s. I'm sure he learned a fair amount about hitting a target there as well. Number 1. Power Cosmic. Victor Creed of Earth 295 was once a Herald of Galactus for a very short time. He was actually offered a permanent position as Herald, but he turned it down, returning the power cosmic to Galactus after helping to destroy the villainous Silver Surfer of Earth 552. This all went down in Exiles Volume 1, where Earth 295 Sabretooth himself served alongside that team of heroes, the Exiles.
Number 10. Shape-shifting/molecular control. Sinister, through the absorption of abilities held by a mutant named Courier, can now manipulate his structure down to a molecular level. Molecular. Hard to say some days. While he is most often shown using this ability to regenerate, he can also use it to great effect when it comes to shape-shifting. Sinister could really modify his appearance to whatever he chose, so that design is a choice. He likes it. He feels it's terrifying. I mean, terrifying no. Off-putting and memorable 100%. Plus, it's creative. Really shows what you can do when you modify yourself. Tassels. Built-in tassels for life. Also sexy lady clones, because why not? I mean, go hard or go home. Number 9. Teleport. Sinister can teleport. This has been shown on many occasions. However, when it comes to this ability, there is a little bit of a mystery behind it. It is unclear whether this is a mutant ability he has added to his repertoire or some form of technology that he has integrated onto his person. Beast believes it is achieved through technology that he has in his headquarters, which are specifically Tesseract headquarters. But it's still kinda up in the air. Either way, at times Mr. Sinister can teleport, so watch out. Number 8. Stamina. Sinister has superhuman stamina, which on the surface may not seem like anything to write home about. Seems like an ability that for many characters, hero or villain, is just par for the course. However, in Sinister's case, how he has achieved it is pretty interesting. Also, does anybody else just like saying his actual name? Nathaniel Essex. Good name. So before he had given himself the abilities he has, Essex was trying to modify himself to peak human condition, which he would decide was the mutant form, and the next step in human evolution. So he managed to make his body produce less fatigue toxins, so he is able to assert himself at peak capacity for far longer than your average human.
Number 7. Enhanced Stamina. Another power that is a byproduct of Sabretooth's insane healing factor is his enhanced stamina. His healing factor helps to reduce the physical exhaustion his muscles feel during prolonged physical activity. This is because they help to negate the buildup of lactic acid that would normally cause one to feel fatigued and repair damaged muscle at an accelerated rate.
Number 6. Mild Technopath. Sinister has the ability to sync up with his tech. Now the mild is there because this is not all tech, it's his tech. That is stuff he is working with specifically and only what he is interested in. Sebastian Shaw has stated that Sinister often doesn't make plans the best that they could be because he gets attached to older modes of technology when advancements have already been made. Advancements that could really update or speed up his plans. Sometimes you just get used to doing things your own way. Now I like to imagine Sinister on like a broken phone several generations old while the rest of the villain community is trying to get him like the new iPhone. Make your own fun. Make your own headcanons.
Number 5. Master Manipulator. Along with being a skilled tactician, Deathstroke has proven to be a wily adversary. Not only did he plot to corrupt the Teen Titans using his own son Jericho, though that somewhat backfired, and before that he tried to corrupt them using Terra, though I'd rather not talk about the problematic yet amazing storyline that was the Judas contract, but he also has manipulated the Flash into a position of weakness so that he could attack him, and has impersonated heroes such as Batman to manipulate others into doing his bidding. Also, just impersonating Batman itself is a skill, and is pretty ballsy. Like, if Batman catches you, phew, ugh. I mean, I don't think he's scared, he's obviously beat him up before, so. Deathstroke is not scared of anyone, not even the bat.
Number 4. Telekinetically increased strength. Mr. Sinister has telekinetic abilities, which in and of itself again can seem like it's just being passed out like free samples at the supermarket, but how he uses it is fascinating. He sometimes uses his telekinetic abilities to augment his strength. So before telekinesis, he vacillates in between being able to lift between 2 to 10 tons. This depends on his current shape, as using his shape-shifting abilities can also alter his strength. However, when he uses his telekinesis to boost, he can lift up to 25 tons, and that is nothing to sneeze at. Although when you think about it, it's also double the exertion, because now it's both mental and physical exertion.
Number 3. Master Manipulator. With Sabretooth being as strong and feral as he is, people often forget that he is also quite brilliant when it comes to plotting. Over the years, he has created many plots and tactfully manipulated others into doing his bidding, especially Wolverine. He manipulated Wolverine into killing his own son, and in Wolverine Volume 2, Issue 10, into slaughtering an entire village of pretty much innocent people. He's used his intellect to break into a heavily guarded government facility, and to even beat Mr. Sinister, who is known for his brilliant mind.
Number 2. Geneticist. That's not a power, you cry. However, in Sinister's case, I beg to differ. Allow me to elaborate. It was Nathaniel Essex's interest and abilities to manipulate genetics that granted him powers in the first place, as he used himself for experimentation. And his powers come from multiple sources, so even then it can be hard to trace. He learned to add abilities to himself, and made himself a mutant by choice and design. That's pretty impressive, actually. He's also used this ability to create an army of clones. So without this first interest, there would be no Mr. Sinister in the first place, and that makes it pretty important. Number 1. Gambit. Now, Sinister has a complicated relationship with several mutants, but one prominent one is Gambit. He's also taken samples from Gambit to add to himself. Sinister is also the person who performed surgery on Gambit to make his powers easier to control, and prevent him from reaching his new son Omega level potential. And for a brief period, Sinister showed that he can use a combination of his skills to completely masquerade as someone else, transforming into Gambit and back in front of him. Horrifying, terrifying stuff. It shows how confident he is that he doesn't rely on such tactics, often preferring to walk around with his flamboyant villain look. Which, I mean, come on, again, tassels.